Okay, so this should be, yep, it's recording.
Amazing. So can you introduce yourself and tell me a fun fact about you?
A fun fact. Okay, so I'm Emily Moreno, and a fun fact about me is that I live on the Appalachian Trail.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, nice.
So I don't know if you were asked this question during freshman orientation, but I was. If you could be any utensil in the kitchen, what would you be and why?
Oh my gosh, if I could be any utensil. Oh my gosh, you know what? I would probably be a spork because
Okay.
it's got multiple uses. I feel like everyone always gets excited when they see sporks. They're like, oh my gosh, it's like a spoon and a fork.
Especially at Wagner when they had like the little plastic utensils and you're like, oh, okay. this is
Yeah, I
this is versatile.
know. Yeah, I know. I'd be a spork because people always get like, oh my god, it's a spork. You know? Everybody
It's
always freaks
true.
out for sporks.
So what interested you into coming to Wagner for school?
Um, let's see. Well, so I'm a theater performance major, so I was looking for something with like a really solid theater program. And I knew some students who were going there at the time, and I knew that they were very, very talented. So I was like, oh, like let me look into
Hmm.
this school because they're good, and I know they're going for theater, so I trust their judgment on like
Hmm.
the theater program, and then I ended up auditioning and got in. So it was great.
What's your favorite class that you've taken so far? Well, at the end of your Wagner career.
My favorite class. Oh my gosh. Wow. There's kind of a lot. I mean, I know that sounds so corny, but there's kind of a lot. Let me think about this. I'll tell you what. I think my like the class that felt like the most like perfect to me, besides like dance classes, because dance classes are always, I love dancing, just because you get to move your body. But I liked my musical theater performance one class because you can take musical theater performance one and musical theater performance two. And my musical theater performance one class, not that I didn't love two, it was the same teacher, but one for some reason just was so like it felt perfect. Every time I went there, I learned something that really like helped and really changed
Mhm.
like how I felt about the songs that we were working on, and I really felt like I was able to very like be myself, and um I loved the students that were in the class. They were so supportive of like our performance every single time, and of course everybody's so talented, so getting to watch other people sing and be like wild all the time was great.
That's awesome. I feel like it was like a comfortable environment where you can just kind of grow and figure out who you are and who you want to be. And I feel like Wagner does that a lot in their classes. And it's
Hmm.
always good.
Yeah, I've definitely felt that. Yeah, because we're so small, so like everybody
Mhm.
knows everybody, and for like the better, like we become each other's family. So it's nice.
I feel that. What's your favorite role that you've performed in?
Overall, or at Wagner?
Let's do both.
Okay. So at Wagner is hands down when we did a little night music. I was Madame Armfeld. I was the
Yeah.
grandmother. So I was a 75-year-old woman in a wheelchair, and it was really fun. It's just cool to be an old woman.
Love that. Overall, what's your favorite role? Is it the same one? Or?
Um, I'm trying to think now. I've played some really wacky stuff in the past. Like I played like the Cowardly Lion when I was really little, and um, I don't know. I did a whole bunch of like random like guy roles. I was Wednesday Addams, and that was kind of cool. In the Addams Family. that was really fun. I liked that a lot. But I don't know, maybe Madame Armfeld still wins because that was just so fun. You
I
know.
love that. It was a great show. I know, like, it's one of my favorites that I've seen, and I've only seen like 4, but
Thank you.
they always do a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, that means a lot. It was so much fun. So, I mean, I'm glad that came across that it was just a, crazy. That was a crazy show because,
Okay.
plot
That's true.
with everybody running around that whole show.
Was there a moment where you were like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, like that you knew?
Let's see. Um, yeah, probably. I feel like my junior year of high school when I was like thinking about college, obviously, and meeting with guidance counselors and stuff like that, and they were just like, what are you thinking? And I was just like, I really can't see myself doing much else besides being in the arts, like theater and music and
Mhm.
um, that sort of thing. I just can't see myself being in an office or like something like that. So I said I think I have to go, for
Mhm.
the arts. And I think that's probably when they asked me and I was like, you know what?
So,
Yeah.
I love that. I kind of feel like it's like a full circle type of thing, because it's like in one moment figuring out like what you want to do forever, and then going to school for something where it's kind of like reaffirming like, hey, this is it, like this is what I want to do. It's kind of nice to see, and the impact, especially like Wagner's had. So
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Going to Wagner was very reaffirming of that, for sure.
Mhm.
Especially being so close to the city and seeing shows and everything and really having a feeling of, I think I can do this, you know?
Mhm. So my next question for you is, what are you currently listening to?
Oh my gosh, so much. I I've only been listening to stuff because now I'm just chilling home, um,
Mhm.
and writing, but listening mostly. Beach Bunny. I'm listening to a lot of Beach Bunny because she just had a new album that came out that I like genuinely like loved, and I can't wait for it to be like you know like nice outside and springish summer and like driving in my car blasting this new album because it's just really good. Let's
Mhm.
see what else am I listening to? Listening to a lot of Phoebe Bridgers and um, Brockhampton. That's
Mhm.
classic. Love Brockhampton because they're always a party.
That's
Uh,
true.
I also, I mean, I used to when I was really little. I loved Demi Lovato so much, and then I like kind of strayed away a little bit. But she had that new song that just came out.
Mhm. I
What,
know what you're talking about.
yeah, it's like I love. What is it? I don't even know what it's called, but I listened to it and I was like, "You go, Demi, you go. Get back on top of your on your game," because
Yeah.
she's always been so talented. So whenever she has something come out, I always give it a listen because she's such a nice like she's got such a nice high belt. Like her
Mhm.
just like when she performed at the Grammys, that song "Anyone" or anyone. I was like, wow, it was just really good. So that um oh, it's called "I Love Me." That's what it is. Demi Lovato. Just found it on my phone. Because I have to scroll through and think, like, what am I listening to right now?
I know it's a hard question. It's kind of like you have to reevaluate or like pick some things to say, and I find it interesting to see what people are listening to, and it normally helps me like broaden what I should be listening to. So it's great to see.
Oh my God, there's nothing I love more than when people send me their playlists and they're like, hey, listen to this. You would probably like it. That means that like
Mhm.
they listen to me, they know me, they know my personality, and then they send me something and they're like, yo, just try this out. I'm like, this is awesome. And I usually find stuff that I love that way. So
Mhm.
love that. I love
What
that.
is your opinion of streaming services like Spotify?
I like Spotify a lot. I think it's a great way to find new music like that without having someone to send you a playlist. You can just be like,
Mm-hmm.
your Discover Weekly, or I had this one time, and I still listen to it. Spotify made me a playlist that's just called Badass Women. And I was like,
I love it.
I love that. Yeah. And that's where I found a lot of like Julian Baker and like Phoebe Bridgers and Soccer Mommy and Snail Mail and like that kind of genre that I love, love, love,
I
love.
love that.
Yeah.
So, if you can describe your sound for me in 3 words, what would those words be?
Ooh, let's see. Um, my sound. Indie. Um, indie sad girl. I can't.
I love it.
I feel like that's the best way to do it.
What's your favorite lyric that you've ever written?
Oh my gosh, my favorite lyric. Uh, let me think. Um, very, very emo, but I think I wrote this lyric that was like, "Take a look into my eyes. Do you see you or me?" Which I thought was kind of, yeah, I know, super emo, but
Clever.
yeah,
Clever.
it's kind of like, when you look into my eyes, are you thinking about how you like my eyes and how you like me as a person, or are you thinking about how you're looking like in my eyes with the reflection, sort of a thing?
Wow.
Yeah.
I love when they're all like so deep because it's kind of like you get to see a story behind the original lyric. Because sometimes, like, I feel like people take things at face value all the time. There's always this like underlying deeper meaning.
Oh man, always, always. Especially this album, like this album cover and everything too, like with the whole, because the EP is called Blue Ballerina, and that's actually, it's a long story, but it's basically based off of a painting that already exists. I know. And so basically I saw this painting because it, meant something to one of my friends. It was like, here, like, look at this painting, because this painting, it brought tears to my eyes. So I was like, oh, let me look at it. And I looked at it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, huh, am I the blue ballerina in this painting, or are you, or what, who is this blue ballerina? So this EP is like my thought of who the blue ballerina is, I guess.
Oh, nice. I really like that. I kind of like how you're drawing inspiration from so many different areas. And like, I kind of think that goes back to what we were talking about earlier about how it's like finding yourself and like defining yourself. And as you said, like, who is the blue ballerina? So I think that's pretty interesting.
It's a lot, because like this is my first, like, I mean, I've put out a single before, but this is my first like true like debut EP that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is my first like full works. So it's just exciting to kind of find my sound and find like, the, like, what I want to put out, what specifically like I think is me,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
I kind of love how like music kind of crosses boundaries in that sense because there's so many different like genres out there, but at the same time, like genres don't exist. And then it's, yeah.
Uh,
I feel like a lot of people forget that and they're like, oh, I'm like this. But at the same time, like your lyrics might be, as you said, maybe like more emotional. And then like it's an indie sound with maybe some like upbeat riffs. And then you're thinking about so many different things at the same time. And it's nice to see it all like in this one package.
mm-hmm, for sure. Yeah, no, for sure. Like, I'm listening to like the demos and stuff that I have out, and I'm like, I I could categorize this, or I could just let people listen to it and then kind of decide what they feel, because I feel like I'm going to get so many different opinions on it, because it's like kind of like an acoustic EP, but it's also I don't know, there's so much happening in each sound, so it's like in each song there's so many different sounds happening, so I don't know. Yeah, you're so right, genres are not a thing anymore.
What is your what was the recording process like for it?
Okay, so the recording process was very much so like, we have a week, let's get at it and like go. So basically during this quarantine, actually it was the first week of quarantine, like basically our spring break. I was like, let's go. So me and Morgan Brown just for a whole week locked ourselves in his apartment and we're like, all right, let's record and get this done.
I
So
love that.
yeah, so we got pretty much most of it done. There's like one or two more things that we need to like work on about it, but yeah, no, we like literally were just like, let's hit the ground running and record as much as we possibly can. And that was that.
It's
So
kind of like your baby in a sense, like you're watching it grow and then seeing how it's going to take on so many new forms. And I feel like it's going to influence so many different people in the sense that, like, as you said, like you're going to get a bunch of different opinions on it, but at the same time, it's going to be how people interpret. And I always find that the most fascinating part about music. Like everyone's going to take something a little bit differently, but it's going to stick with them in a way.
oh, for sure, I love that too. Like everybody could hear the same song but get like totally different ideas on the song, like, and the lyrics, the interpretation,
Mm-hmm.
the vibe. Like that's why everybody's got different tastes in music.
That's true.
But
So we have a question that our PR director, Grace, came up with. Brace yourself. The question is, what is your opinion of releasing an artist's unreleased music after they've passed away? Should it be released or should it not?
oh, that's an interesting question. Wow. I think that if you are going to release it after an artist has passed away, you have to say that they passed away and they didn't give the yes or no as to whether this should be released, but we're releasing it so that people can hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was written to be heard, but maybe it wasn't done, or maybe it didn't have the approval of the artist yet. But if you're gonna do it, release it and say it wasn't fully done, but here you go, just so that we respect the artist.
I know it's such a hard question because as a fan, you always want to hear more music, but at the end of the day, the artists have been happy, and it's such a big thing that's so prominent now. Like we saw it with like the Little Peep songs, we saw it with Mac Miller's album.
Mm-hmm.
They're like on very different sides of the spectrum for it, but I feel like this is a conversation people need to start to have more so, and that's why we always ask this question to kind of bring it about. Like we brought up maybe artist wills or like putting it in a contract, so it's important to kind of see and make this something that we talk about more.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they even released Rent without Jonathan Larson fully having finished that, and that was like a big thing too.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, yeah, no, we see it in all genres of art too, that people are like, oh, like, see this person's painting even though they passed, like things like that.
That's so true.
Yeah, it's a wild thought.
If you could change one thing about the music industry as it is today, what would it be and why?
I think I would change well, okay, kind of two things, but they kind of go hand in hand.
Go for it.
Yeah, so we're seeing a shift sort of with like different body types and different ethnicities and cultures and backgrounds, like being
Mhm.
recognized and being popular, like especially in actually it was funny, I was watching this last night, Lady Gaga's what was it, Stupid Love, that she used dancers of all different like backgrounds and like body types and things like that. um like I wish like that would have started sooner. Like I wish that would have just always universally been
Mhm.
accepted. And the other thought that I had, like furthermore, like I wish women specifically in music, like with the whole Me Too movement and everything, I think um I wish that would have never even been like necessary for lack of better terms. Like I wish that women in music could have just always been um, free in a sense and not
Mhm.
have like that, you know?
Mhm.
I'm not
I know it's such a
very
oh,
intelligent,
go first.
but
I think, like as you said, it's mostly a male-dominated industry, and I feel like it is changing more so now because so many people are kind of speaking up for themselves. And with music in general, you can do that. You can say like, this is who I am, this is who I want to be. And with platforms like Spotify, it's definitely possible to have that now because so many people can release their own music and have the world hear it. So it's kind of crazy to think that like this is where we are and where we're going to grow. So
and that's wonderful that people can just put stuff on YouTube and Spotify and
mhm.
Bandcamp and all that stuff and just let the world hear it. Like you said, that's wonderful. So like now we're exposed to so much more music than we would have been even
Mhm.
back like 10 years ago when like MySpace was a thing.
That's
you know
true.
like this is just awesome. I love it, and that's why so many people are like so many more people are putting stuff out because it's accessible to them, like it's
Mhm.
great.
What's your writing process like?
My writing process is very much similar every time I write, where I'll have a thought, like a something that's happened to me or something that is just something that I'm feeling lately, like a thought or an emotion or like a situation. I'll bring that feeling of like what that feels like to have that thought or that thing that happened or that emotion, and I'll start to like screw around with chords and see like because I'm a pianist, so that I'll start to play and be like, what does that thing sound like on the piano? And then
Mhm.
once I get the like vibe of what that like feels like, then I'll start to write how it feels. Like I'll start
I
to
love that.
like write lyrics to like that, I guess.
I love that. I kind of feel like it's this connectivity factor that I personally love in music and this relatability thing where it's like you're going through all of these different things and other people are too. And that's something so important today because like someone once told me like you could release a song now and then 3 years later somebody else can be going through the same thing and like your song could be the song that's like getting them through it. So I think that's kind of yeah, it's just something that's so remarkable today.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. I love it more than anything else. I love it when I find a song that I'm like, I feel you. Like I'll find a song and I'll be like, wow, I don't even know if I'm 100% thinking the same thing that they were thinking or like if this
Mhm.
is what they meant even by these lyrics, but this is what I get from what you're saying. And
Mhm.
man, that lifts me because it's just like someone else gets it. exactly. Or they could put it into words better than I could, which is like
That's true.
awesome. I love that.
So you mentioned you play the piano. Can you tell me how you picked that as your instrument of choice?
Yeah, so the piano, I've always played the piano. That my parents actually put me in like lessons when I was really really young. I want to say like kindergarten, like real little, like I don't even know, honestly. I couldn't remember. That's how long ago it was. It was too long ago for me to remember. So I think like kindergarten or preschool, I went to a music school, um, or actually I took private lessons first. Then I went to a music school, and then I just kept it. Like I had a piano in my room, so I would just go over to the piano and just start playing. And I remember I see I I cheat because I like listening to music and then figuring it out and playing it by ear rather than sheet music. I mean, I can do sheet music. I I don't want to be a lazy artist who's like, oh, I can't read sheet music. But I no offense to people who do that, but um, I I just I don't know. I would listen to music and then I'd be like, can I figure this out? And I'd figure it out and then I'd start singing to it because why not? And then I did a variety show when I was in like 5th and 6th grade where I played and sang to Regina Spektor's song. Also love Regina so much. um, and like I used to figure out like Ingrid Michael songs or Michelson songs, and yeah, that's so I started just like trying to play by ear,
Mm-hmm.
and then yeah, and then writing started around that age, and that's been my journey.
I kind of like respect the fact that you said like you would learn the song by listening to it. I feel like that trains your ear in a way that kind of makes people at least like better musicians in a sense, because like it helps with not only like hearing chords and stuff, but like pitches and trying to figure out if you're like matching the tune in a sense. And I think that goes so well with like not only reading music but also listening to it, because like when I listen to music, sometimes it's like, oh, what key is this written in? Or like, oh, what chord progression is this? Or something like that. And, or like you pick up on little nuances that people might not hear the first time. So it's always nice to see like the journey on how that comes to be.
Yeah, for sure, and especially with like musical theater, bringing it back into the musical theater world.
Mm-hmm.
I took a workshop one time, humble brag, with Nicole Fosse, which is Bob Fosse's daughter, or right? I think yeah, no, I think it's his daughter. It's Gwen Verdon and Bob Fosse's daughter, right? And she um was like, when you're listening to music in general,
Mm-hmm.
you should be trying to pick out all the different parts. Like you should be hearing, like if there's an oboe, just listen to the oboe line by itself. If there's like listen to the drums, just listen to the drums, and like then
Mm-hmm.
just listen to the piano, just listen to the violins, like, and then when that all comes together, see how they like are in conversation with each other, like see,
Mm-hmm.
you know, who's got the lead and who's just like the rhythm or percussion section, you know, like try to like listen to every single part of the song, because you'll get so much more out of the song by like training your ear to listen to different parts, which I thought was
Mm-hmm.
really cool, you know. Just a cool.
I love how you said it was kind of like this conversation, because I'm obviously like in instrumental music, you can hear it more so, but even with songs where people are singing or anything like that, the lyrics and the melodies are one layer, and then you kind of have the bass line and then the guitar part or the piano part and then the drums. They all kind of have like sprinkle in these different little nuances and these different parts that kind of just make it a full sounding, like I want to find the right word for this, like a full sounding, I don't know, it's just kind of like this amazing thing that happens because everyone else is kind of sometimes like one part is better, but they all play a role that makes it what it is.
Mhm. Yeah, it's hard,
So
especially when you're recording, because you're like, what do I even hear with this? So like
mhm,
the whole idea of like producing music is that you're like, well, like I said, this album or EP is kind of like it's kind of acoustic, kind of not, because it's like just me and piano, and then little other tiny things like
mhm,
little added here and there, like guitar or like sounds or like ambience or like things like that. So yeah, I feel you on the different like noises you have to follow, and it's hard.
mhm,
It's hard when you're creating because you're like I said, what do I hear with this? What's the best way that this like
mhm,
song or moment will sound, you know?
mhm. It's kind of like that stripped and raw, where it's just this letting things be what they are and hearing them for what they are supposed to be.
Yeah, and I love raw music. I love it. Like I'm the type of person that wants the whole album to be a ballad. But I think I think it's interesting. Like I've been trying to add to it rather
Mhm,
than just doing me and piano, although I love that sound of just a set, like a voice and an instrument. I love,
mhm,
that's my favorite thing, is just a voice and an instrument. But I've been challenging myself to try to add to it, just so like
mhm.
harmonies or like things that um I can't do just when it's just me and my piano, you know, which has been my challenge for this album.
What musicians inspire you to be a better musician?
Oh, it's gonna sound cheesy.
I'm ready.
My brother.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
cute.
My brother has his master's in music, composition, and he's always been like the musician of the household. You know what I mean? Like I've always been like I've always loved playing and I've always loved singing and writing. Always loved that. But my brother was the one who even inspired me to do that at all, because he used to have his bands and his, you know, his band practice come, like all of his friends would be in the basement. Like my basement is just like a music den, which is, I love it, but it was always his like den until, you know, when he moved out, and then I was like, you know what, my den now. So yeah, he inspired me because he still is like a music composer. Like he'll do like full orchestrations and things like that. Yeah, that it's really cool. He'll like have a full like orchestra, or like a small orchestra doing like his music that he'll write for like commercials and like stuff like that. Like um it's hard to explain, but he's a music composition major, so he's always had that. You know?
Nice. I love asking this question because I feel like it doesn't have to be somebody who is quote unquote famous to influence you in that way. And I think that you having your brother there kind of will push you in a sense that like you want to get better, not just for you, but for your family and for everyone else that's going to be touched by your songs. So,
Yeah, that's definitely true. Thank you.
my last question for you is what are your goals for 2020?
Oh my gosh. Let's see. 2020. Well, I'm excited for this album release, this EP release. So that's a goal, because that in itself, I'm like, let's set this date and let's release it, which is going to be sometime around Easter. So that's
Okay.
the goal, because we're still mixing and mastering and, you know, putting finishing touches on everything. Um, so that's one. I think two is to make this coronavirus go away. That's
Yes.
possible, but I mean, 2 is to get everybody healthy and back to, you know, normal.
Normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But personal, I guess, is to keep writing music and actually start my, after this EP is done, start my album that is gonna be, yeah, so that's another goal, is to start working on that. And just keep being creative, especially in a time like this where we have so much time to write and to, you know, do so many other creative things. Like, I don't know, just the school just had us download, if we wanted it, from Adobe Photoshop. So I've been like, yeah, I've been taking advantage of Photoshop and Premiere and trying to,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like work on that. And yeah, so get better at those programs and stay creative.
I feel like creativity is going to be the driving force of this whole thing. Just pushing forward.
For sure. It's the one like good thing, I mean good, about this, that like we have this time now. So all of the, times when I said, "Oh, if only I had time, I would, X, Y,
Mm-hmm.
Z." Now I have that time. So it's time to start doing X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love that. And I really appreciate you speaking with me. I had a lot of fun. This one was great. So thank you.
I mean, I had a lot of fun too.
It was so nice to talk to somebody like from Wagner, same age, and kind of just seeing what the future is going to hold and what your art's all about. So thank you.
Thank you, Jeanine. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you doing this for me.
Of course. I'm so excited. And we will, of course, as always, plug your EP when it comes out. So
We'll see that around Easter. We'll see, you know.
can't wait to get you airtime.
Thank you.
Of course. Okay. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And I will send you everything when it's done.
Great. Thank you. I'll see you later.
Bye, Emily.
Bye.
How do I leave the Zoom?